Illinois may have lost to #2 Michigan last night, but there was a time when Michigan was dealing with a scandal during the Fab Five seasons from the early 90s.
I remember them well, and we're going to relive that a bit today. In today's Page Turners, we'll look at a book called The Booster. Co-author Jim McFarland joins us. Hi, Jim.
Tim, Heather.
You were at the game last night, yes?
I was. Yes, I was, as was my wife and a Illini fan, so we had so much fun. Especially in the first half when it was competitive.
It was a very competitive game, although I'm going to say, I'm going to call him out. Your Facebook post, I saw the word systematic beatdown when you described the game.
Yeah.
That may be a little strong, but I mean, it was,
but, you know, I'm passionate.
Sure, I get it.
And you're passionate about sharing the story of the Fab Five.
I am.
So for those who may not be familiar with the scandal, what was it all about?
Well, this came about, late 80s, early 90s. There was a gentleman named Ed Martin. I've never met Ed. I knew his son. Carl is the co-author of this book. Ed was an electrician at Ford Motor Company. He also ran a huge illegal numbers operation out of the Ford Motor Company plant. He was making a whole lot of money. And he really was passionate, almost obsessive about sports, especially high school sports. And he would give money to players, all players, good players, bad players, just because he knew in inner city teams especially, there's a lot of trouble with not a lot of money at home. Parents don't have food on the table. My brothers and sisters don't have enough to eat, home clothes. So he became a booster in high school. A lot of those kids, when they went to college, he just kept paying them. Problem is, NCAA was not quite as generous or understanding as the high school programs were. And so that led to the downfall eventually as he gave money to players like Jimmy King, like Jalen Rose, like Chris Webber, some names some fans may know, gave money to those players. Ultimately, the NCAA got involved, the FBI got involved, there were raids, there was prison time. It was a huge scandal in Southeast.
I think a lot of people might not know, what was he giving them money for?
Basically, he was giving them money for whatever they wanted, really, but mostly for their parents. You know, a lot of these players come from single-parent households.
But what was his reasoning for it? Was he just overly generous, or was he hoping for something on the other side?
He was a great believer in talent. He himself was a mathematical genius, but he grew up in the Deep South at a time when schools were segregated, and I think he never really felt that he had the opportunity that he might have had he had a better education up front. So when he saw players with talent in high school, he just wanted to give them a path. He felt that they had a chance, they might be able to achieve the things he could not. So I think he kind of saw himself almost as a father figure.
So just so that I'm clear, there's nothing wrong with someone giving, you know, others less fortunate money, but it was where he was getting the money that was the issue that the NCAA had?
That was one of the problems. Actually, you are not supposed to give money to college players.
But he wasn't affiliated with the college, so why would they care that it came from him?
Because there's a possibility that if you're giving money to players, you might want something in return. And what you might want in return is maybe miss that free throw at the end of the game. Maybe not get that last rebound. Maybe, so in other words, shave a few points. If you're a betting man on the side, you might give a player money, and then you bet that team loses or covers the point, and I've made more money. So that's why the NCAA looks down on things like that.
Got it.
What is the, well, first of all, this is a big story right now with this women's basketball player in Alabama, I believe, who got a stipend check for playing for Team USA.
Right.
She cashed it, and now they're saying you can't play at all in high school because you cashed an $800 check. So it's obviously still an issue today. What was the end result of this with the Fab Five?
Well, they've just now, in the last year or so, been welcomed back in the fold. Chris Webber, in fact, was an honorary captain this year for the Michigan football team. But for about 10 years, they were not allowed on campus. They took down the banners from their championship years. Carl Martin, Ed's son, did 18 months in prison rather than turn state's evidence against his father. His father passed away during the middle of all this, and it's often believed that the reason Chris Webber did not go to prison was because Ed was the chief complaining witness, and when he passed away, the case kind of fell apart.
Yeah, we're looking here at vintage footage of some Illini Michigan basketball. So this book kind of covers that whole scandal, and you get the inside scoop.
And not only that, Heather, but as Tim was alluding to, in schools like Kansas and Arizona and and Louisville. You're seeing scandals creep up now. A lot of what happens in this book is still happening today. A lot of times, it's a hard thing. You got high school players, young, very talented players who are very impressionable, very easily led astray, and you got people who want them to play for certain teams. And a lot of people, a lot of alumni, a lot of big pocket, deep pocket supporters.
Shoe companies?
Shoe companies,
Yeah.
that's a real problem.
Yep.
But wherever there's money involved and where kids are kind of starry-eyed and they know they have talent, young kids these days who know they have talent, know that a lot of adults are coming in and begging them to play for their team. So you've got the possibility of scandal still existing throughout college basketball, and this is just kind of like a foresight of what happened before and what could happen again.
Well, regardless of who you're a fan of, the story is a fascinating one. So a sports fan at all, this would be a great gift or just a good read. Where can people get a copy of the book?
They get it on Amazon, of course, and online at thebooster.net.
All right. Well, thanks, Jim, so much for coming and sharing such an interesting story. There's a look at the website, and we'll connect you with that at SayLiving.tv. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Now, here's something